Okay, here we are. Matthew Russell Lee, Inner City Press, here at the Southern District of New York Courthouse. Today, Wednesday, July 24th, 2025. Of course, the story that ate all other stories, the Epstein files. Yesterday, on the beat here, now, Judge Engelmeyer, to whom Ghislaine Maxwell's case was reassigned from Judge Nathan, Judge Engelmeyer denied Ghislaine Maxwell's lawyer's request to see the grand jury transcripts, even though it was backed up by Todd Blanche, who may be meeting with her today, as early as today, or today, down in jail in Florida. It's really something. Judge Engelmeyer said, no, it's black letter law that defendants don't get to see their grand jury transcripts and nothing's been shown. It was kind of a bold move, but there was a bolder move coming right after that, in which the judge who now has the apparently dormant until now Jeffrey Epstein federal case in Florida denied outright the request to unseal the transcripts. That may be under 11th Circuit law. We'll have to see what they do about it. But it may be all superseded. As many have said, the grand jury transcripts are going to be much more limited than the sort of whatever it is that the FBI collected over the years. Whatever led up. I would say this. Here would be interesting. After the outcry, Jeffrey Epstein got a sweetheart deal, 2008, whatever it was in Florida. Then there was kind of, he was some sort of stigmatized, but he's still hanging around. Something happened, and they decided to be looking into him. That's what led to his arrest at Teterboro Airport and transmission to the MCC. Now, that investigation must have generated a whole bunch of documents. They ultimately ended up going with a case against Ghislaine Maxwell of only 3 or 4 victims. How they would have done the Epstein trial, I don't know. I'm sure it would have been much less than what they had. That's why we called it the narrow prosecution. But the files of that is what needs to be released. And honestly, it should be. It should be. It's these stories saying, for example, that Trump's in them. We've seen the pictures. He was hanging around with Jeffrey Epstein. They were joking together, pointing at people in some room long ago. But I'm sure there's a lot of other people in them. So it seems like the only out here is the full release of those files. I don't see what other out there is. In any case, we're staying on the legal front of it. Judges Berman and Engelmeyer have requested various briefing schedules, including victim filings by August 5th. So this is going to go deep into August. August 11th, supposedly, Ghislaine Maxwell is to be deposed or testify to the House. I don't know. There was a vote. Summer Lee made the motion. Nancy Mace and others joined it. Anyway, enough is enough. We're covering the Roman Storm trial, where yesterday, IRS Criminal Investigations Special Agent Werlaw, he tried to fix, I would say, a problem that arose that Miss Lynn, the first witness in the case, talked about being scammed and being told by somebody that it went to Tornado Cash and writing to Tornado Cash. Now, the lawyers for Roman Storm say that there's no evidence that the money went to Tornado Cash. I'm not sure where it stands because Werlaw brought it up and was allowed to talk about the letter to Hello at Tornado Cash. But what's the jury going to draw an conclusion? And will this promised motion to dismiss, motion for a mistrial be made? I don't know. Today, they're basically wrapping up. The government is wrapping up, and the defense case will begin today. And we're going to be reporting it. We're covering an IMF thing. That's why I'm in a bit of a rush. Yesterday, we covered the Job Corps case in which Judge Carter had to limit his nationwide injunction in light of Trump versus Casa. It was sad. He urged them not to close the centers. We'll see what they do. We return to the United Nations, which I mentioned. I will tell you, I know for a fact, having covered Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein well before the current controversy, that the UN is deeply instigated. Just one example was the incredible Ghislaine Maxwell rehabilitation job that the UN did through the Terramar Foundation. But current Secretary General Antonio Guterres, who has coddled sexual abusers on his 38th floor hideaway with Hochschild and others, and throughout the missions, he had a representative, one of only 5, on Ghislaine Maxwell's Terramar Foundation. And I asked repeatedly, what's the basis to be representing having one of your senior officials on the board of a sex traffickers nonprofit? And it was never answered, and I've been banned ever since. But we're going to get to the bottom of this. Release the files. To be continued.